we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time listening, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast for any reason, hit us up. Questions, concerns, new ideas for a podcast. If you want to come on the podcast, hit us up on our DMs on Instagram or Twitter at the Bigmark Pod, at the Bigmark Podcast. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Rate the podcast if you have time. If you like the podcast, tell your friends, share the podcast, let everyone know. If you want to donate to the podcast, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpodcast. And I do appreciate you taking your time to be here. You could be anywhere in the world, and you took your time to be here with us tonight. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, as thinking about today's episode, I'm really excited because the Dundas Cactus Fest is coming up soon, and I was kind of getting ready tonight, getting my shit together for the week and making some dinner. I was trying to fucking put together some chicken burrito bowl, something like that. Do it in the slow cooker, real nice. Hit it up with the chicken. You hit it with diced tomatoes. You put a little chicken broth in there. You let that simmer, and then you hit it with the beans and the corn and the rice cooks, and 6 hours later, you got yourself a nice little chicken burrito bowl. But it's kind of one of those dishes where I'm like, oh yeah, I always have those ingredients around. Just got to get the chicken. Everything's going to be okay. So I was at the grocery store yesterday getting the stuff. I thought, literally, I looked at the recipe and I was like, all right, do I have all these ingredients? And I was always like, oh yeah, I'm going to have canned beans always. I'm always going to have diced tomatoes. I always get a bunch. Why did I think that? Who the fuck knows? But I didn't. And I was like, oh, as soon as I go to cook it, I'm like, okay, I got the chicken. Throw it in there. No fucking diced tomatoes. I'm like, oh fuck. I had bought beans yesterday because I was like, I know I need beans. I was like, for sure I have these diced tomatoes. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, all right, double check everything. Okay, got everything in the fridge. I'm walking over. I'm pretty sure I got broth in the fridge. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I got broth. No worries, get it. I'm literally like, I'm going into the grocery store to get one thing, and I'm walking out of there. I go in, I grab my diced tomatoes, scan them, come back, put them in, get things going. No fucking chicken broth. I was like, fuck, man, what am I supposed to do about this? So, I ended up coming back, doing my thing. I was like, I ain't going back to the grocery store. So I found some chicken bouillon, whipped it up in some water, boom, put it in there, tried it out. Tastes pretty good. No big difference. Maybe it's a little saltier. But anyway, I hate when I fucking do that shit, man. Every time I'm like, ah, oh, fuck. I got everything I need. I even like look at the bloody recipe, and I come home, I'm still fucking missing a goddamn recipe. Or sorry, ingredient. My God. But all that angst went away when I thought about this upcoming weekend. So this is going to be airing on August 16th, Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, wherever you're listening to this. If any of my Dundas delegates out there are listening, this weekend, the 17th to the 20th, Dundas Cactus Fest. I don't know, this is probably going to be a little bit of a regional favorite here, but if you've ever been to Hamilton, Ontario, and in fact been to Hamilton and then also been to the cozy little small town that's just outside of Hamilton called Dundas. Of course, I'm not going to say Dundas is a part of Hamilton. Don't worry, I won't do you like that, Dundas folks. But the Cactus Fest is a really great time. It's such a great tradition. The only time it's ever been affected was in 2020, with COVID and everything. So that kind of fucking put the brakes on everything. And then 2021, they did kind of like a half virtual, half like in-person thing. Other than that, basically since 1975, this fest has been going. So it's always been a really fun little time in the sleepy town of Dundas, Ontario. Now, the first Cactus Fest was born out of necessity in 1975. The St. Joseph's House of Providence had ended their picnic that they used to run in Dundas, Ontario. So the Dundas division of the Hamilton District Chamber of Commerce and the Dundas JCs, which is spelled Jaycees, but it's actually like, it's like a play on, it's like a word of J, like the letters J and C, JCs, which is junior chamber. So the district chamber and the junior chamber, essentially the Dundas JCs, began looking for a new fest because, it's kind of funny. Whoever decides in a village, in a town, whenever the first person was like, hey, we should get together and have some fun and have some social time with our town. Like, it's beautiful. It's such a great idea. Such an awesome celebration of love and togetherness. And again, I think it's important, and I'm sure the organizers of any festival that's ever been has always said, it's important that people get together, that people are able to kind of come together and look forward to something too. I think that's a major thing. Social interaction is important, and selling goods and like setting up shop and little vendors and things like that are also fun, and it boosts the economy in a certain way. But again, I think it's important to have events that, whether it's town fairs or little county fairs, little tiny little random ethnic fests that happen, all Greek fests and Polish fests and all these things that happen all over the world. And I think that it's an important bit of tradition that we still do put some credence in. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of traditions that we've fucking thrown completely out and said fuck it. But I think it's pretty cool that we're still doing this. So obviously, I'm sure the Dundas JCs and the Chamber of Commerce were thinking the same thing. Now, before I go much further, you're probably already asking yourself, why the fuck is this festival called the Cactus Fest when we're in Dundas, Ontario, which is in Ontario, Canada? Now, it's not a very long story, but it's an interesting one. Ben Veldhuis emigrated from the Netherlands. Dutch kid, Veldhuis. He worked at grew up working at his father's nurseries. His father was, I guess, when from the Netherlands. He was running a nursery business over there and started one in Canada. And little Ben seemed to have a liking for the cacti, and he actually ended up owning Canada's largest cactus greenhouse in Dundas, Ontario. He was deemed the Cactus King of Canada, and he actually ended up having greenhouses down in Leamington. Shout out Leamington, shout out B-Rye, growing cacti out there, which I think is kind of wild. I mean, you wouldn't think that we're growing any cactus in Canada. You think we just import all the cactus that we have, but what can you do? So when the JCs were starting to come up with a new festival, they thought, hey, Cactus Fest, how perfect. And Ben said, sounds good to me. And thus the Cactus Fest was born. The first fest actually lasted 9 days, which is pretty wild. It's a pretty amazing to have like a city festival, not over 9 days. I mean, when I was a kid, it used to feel like Festival of Friends went on for like 2 weeks, but it was probably just like on a long weekend or something like that. But 9 days. But it began with a parade, featured sports. I'm assuming like field sports to watch. Who knows? A film night, a casino night, a dance at the community center and midway rides. And this was all held at the Dundas Driving Park, which I always used to thought it was the Dundas Drive-In Park, but it's actually a driving park. So presumably, and you know, I guess, hey, hit us up and correct me if I'm wrong. But the driving park, meaning like it's a park that you have to drive, you know, you're kind of driving through and being like, oh, look at this nice park here. And yeah, there's places to park and get out. Like, at least when I grew up, you could go in there, park your car, and then like run around in the field. I'm sure that was probably always the case, but I think it was just kind of one of those, how do I put this, odd kind of motor-centric city town design elements. So again, a lot of North America, shout out to all my European listeners out there, but a lot of North America is built around the car, a vehicle, some type of truck, SUV, car, whatever it is, especially now. But back in the day, the idea was when they were designing the interstates and the Trans-Canada highways, and the way we were going to get across, the vast land that is North America, there was a decision to be made. They go, well, what do we do? Do we go with cars or do we go with trains, essentially? And at the time, cars were coming up. They were starting to become more popular, and Henry Ford and all the boys were trying to get this new technology off the ground. And then the gas companies started getting involved, rubber and oil and petroleum and all that weird shit that's all involved in cars. All those people started lobbying the government and said, hey, listen, this is how we're going to do it. So a lot of, like, the entire country, all America and most of Canada is completely set up to get around in if you have a car. Now, that's cool if you have a car, but if you don't have a car, it makes it pretty fucking hard to get from point A to B. And yeah, there's buses, and yeah, there actually is trains too, but the trains fucking suck, and the buses ain't that much better. So it's another one of those fucking weird kind of built-in class separation ideas. Like, I think I mentioned this before. I think it was like Robert Moses or James Lafayette or somebody like that. Anyway, one of the designers of a lot of the areas of New York City, he actually designed this area with lower bridges and roads that were more narrow, that weren't very accommodating to buses, because he didn't want lower people of lower economic status to come out there on buses. They had to at least drive out there. So again, this whole idea that you have to own a car in North America, it's really, really important, at least in most places. Because even there's always people like, oh, I'm from New York City, or even people from Toronto. Oh, I don't own a car. I don't need to get around. I can just take public trains and everything. Yeah, but you're never going to leave your fucking city. Well, not never, but it's not going to be easy to leave your city. Like some people, like, they might live in a big city, but they're never going to go to like the immediate surrounding area, or even like an hour away. The only place they're leaving to go to are like places you go up in a plane. Like, you're either living in New York City, or you're like in Florida, or you're like in another part of the world and back in New York City. You're not like going to like Jersey or like going to like upstate New York just for fun. Maybe you're going to rent a car, maybe someone else. But again, you still have to get to a car. You still have to rent one. Like I said, you still have to get to a vehicle, and that's the only way that you can kind of get around. So anyway, driving park. It's held at the driving park, which also as a kid I used to thought was drive-in park, and I'd be like, oh, is there going to be a movie theater here? Anyway, by 1979, the festival had grown in popularity, and the downtown merchants of Dundas agreed to hold their sidewalk sale also at the same time, and encouraged like some more vendors to come down and say, "Hey, listen, we're going to shut down the street here. We got the whole street here. Let's have some fun." So I moved down, like I said, to King Street. Moved out of the driving park, and moved into, which is like a nice little quaint town. Again, if you've never been to Dundas, or I've spoken about Dundas quite a bit. A lot of my friends are from there. The high school I went to was adjacent to Dundas, so a lot of my classmates were from Dundas. So shout out Dundas, shout out Fundas. Always a great time. So once the festival moved to King Street, the JCs actually ended up selling the rights to the town for the sum of $1, which is wonderful. And since 1979, the fest has been run by the city, completely by volunteers, and one of the best volunteers being Mark Bowden. Shout out Mark. The other Mark at Sean and Ed's, or the only Mark now. When I used to work there was another Mark who is the head of the tap room. And it was always interesting having to differentiate which Mark, because he's also a big tall guy too. So you couldn't just say, "Oh, there's Big Mark." Well, even though I was taller, but I don't want to say that around him. Shout out Mark. Love you, bud. If you're listening, if you're watching, thank you so much for all the hard work you've done for Reckless Harbor. Mark Bowden was actually one of the first people to actually put in a good word for Reckless Harbor at Cactus Fest. In fact, my band Reckless Harbor has been having, or not having issues, but we ran into a little bit of a logistics issue. I guess it's an issue, but anyway, we ran into this problem that we have, that a lot of festivals that we go and try to sign up for, audition for, whatever it is, throw our hat in the ring, or even some other venues, like when we're trying to go out and play shows to places that have never heard of us, they're always asking us for, what's your Spotify, what's your streaming, let me hear you, where can I hear you? And we have a couple songs on YouTube, don't get us wrong, but you really need some shit on Spotify. Like even Festival Friends, as I mentioned, Super Crawl, places like this, we are trying to sign up for these festivals, or at least get a chance, and all of them just asked for our streaming, and we kind of knew, like, no people, and I totally understand where they're coming from, and I mentioned this before in the recording episode. It's like I truly get it. You don't really look like you're a super serious band if you don't have any streaming now, which it's a nightmare. And as much as that costs a lot of money, a lot of that money just, you have to kind of chalk it up to a marketing expense, because that's just the way she goes. You're not really going to make a lot of money on the streaming right away, but it's your calling card. It's a way you can direct people towards your music and say, "Hey, this is us." But Mark Bowden had heard us a bunch of times play at Sean and Ed's, playing at the brewery, and he vouched for us and got us on the bill, and we're so grateful. And that was 1 year ago. I can't believe it. It seems like so much longer, but it's only been 1 year. And we played our first show at the Cactus Fest, and it was so much fun. And it was great to have friends and family there, and people from Dundas that I knew from long ago walking by, noticing, "Hey, is that Big Mark?" Great to be back on stage at that point. I hadn't really, been on that in stage in that capacity, other than with me and John playing our little duos. But it was tons of fun, and it was 1 year ago, and we're gonna be playing again the Cactus Fest this weekend coming up. Again, if you're listening to this at another time, if you're listening to this next year, hopefully we're playing again next year. Maybe we'll even be on the main stage. But again, it's our first year anniversary. I've been more than happy to be with these guys. These guys are the best guys. I really do appreciate, and I'm grateful. I truly am grateful. It's definitely one of the best things going in my life. And it's special, and everyone is busy and everyone has their lives going on and things happen, and good things and bad. And I know that this band is a constant for all of us, and it's special, and there's something about it. I don't know what it is. It's really fun, and I'm really excited, and every day, again, like I said, I'm grateful for this. So, coming up this weekend, if you're listening before August 20th, 2023. Again, if it's 2024, it's the third weekend of August. So we'll see you there next time. And don't worry, we'll have some streaming by then. Like I said, it's a free festival. Occurs every third weekend in August. Everyone knows it as Cactus. Everyone that I know who's ever kind of talked about it, they always say, hey, you going to Cactus? Come by for Cactus. We're doing this around Cactus, this and that. So again, like I said, I went to high school in this area where a lot of these people's parents were having parties and going down, and the kids would get together and wander down, check out Cactus Fest and things like that. And I remember all types of high school shenanigans. Dundas, one of Dundas's nicknames, at least with my crew, is Fundas. And, we'd have, if there'd be a house party going on, we'd all be carrying on legally, of course. Now we'd all have a couple drinks or whatever, do our thing, go down, cause some type of havoc. I remember going and just being general buffoons. Again, not getting in any fights, not getting in anyone's faces, but just kind of wandering around the street. Again, because they shut down the street, right? So you feel like, oh, look at this. We're walking around, doing our thing, trying to pretend like we're not fucking wasted. But so much fun. All those morts. Just a great time. But again, Cactus, the fun thing about Cactus is that it really does act as this kind of unofficial homecoming for a lot of people in Dundas. I think it's a good time in the summer. It's kind of near the end of the summer. Maybe some people are away, but maybe some people are starting to come back from their holidays. Kids are starting to gear up for school. It's kind of some of the last hurrahs of the summer. And those days are always interesting, right? Those last dog days of summer. And it's summer is an interesting time, right? Because at least the way it works in Canada, because you have that 6 months basically to get in your time, to get in barely 6 months. Let's even look at it. June, July, August, 3 months, 3 quality months. If you're really, really thinking about it, 3 quality fucking months where you can try to do everything you want to outside, where it's still comfortable. You can camp outside. You can chill outside. You can be, you can live that tropical lifestyle, man. You know what I'm saying? Mon. Shout out Julian. No, but you know what I mean? It's an interesting time for Canadians, right? Because we're almost let's just do it. Summertime. Everything goes. Yes, yes, yes. And you go and you go and you go. And it's so easy to fucking just burn yourself out, even on social things, right? And I totally consider myself an extrovert. I love being around people. I love spending social time with people. But again, there's even times where you're just going man, I just want to fucking relax for one weekend. Let me just catch my breath. But that's what the summer's for, baby. That's what the summer is for. It's about getting it in, getting after it, having fun, having a good time, loving it, loving life, and getting out to Cactus and coming to see Reckless Harbor. If you have the time, August 20th, 2023, Dundas, Ontario, Cactus Fest. Check us out. Reckless Harbor. We're Reckless Harbor on all Instagrams, on all social medias. The Bigmark podcast, the Bigmark pod on all socials, Insta, Twitter, Facebook. Check us out wherever you want. Patreon.com/BigmarkPod. Go check us out. Tell your friends. Rate the podcast. Keep on rocking in the free world and doot. Check out Reckless Harbor. Peace. Harbor. Peace.
you.